So today we talk about Kimlong Ly's work, about the supposed isolationism of the DPRK, and he refutes that in his work, which he published for his 23rd birthday. So his work starts with an introduction to the Juche idea. So Juche is the fundamental ideology of the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It was founded by President Kim Il-sung and then further developed by his successors, Comrade Kim Jong-il and Comrade Kim Jong-un. It emphasizes independence in politics, self-reliance in the economy, and self-defense. So also one very important point in the Juche idea is that the popular masses are the masters of society and decide everything. So the Juche idea has a very strong focus on sovereignty, but it does not mean that they reject international relations. They just want to ensure that these international relations are for the benefit of the Korean nation. So now we come to the introduction to the DPRK. So, and there, Comrade Kimlong Ly uses quotes from Dr. Hudson's book in defense of Juche Korea. So the first quote is, "The DPRK is both the legacy of the great leaders President Kim Il-sung and Chairman Kim Jong-il, and also totally Juche-orientated and independent. The socialist state in Korea is an independent state based on a Juche idea, which means that socialism in the DPRK is not a copy of the Soviet Union or China, nor is it dependent on anyone, nor a gift bestowed on the Korean people by a benefactor. So next quote, "The DPRK is different. Korea was liberated as a result of a 20-year-long anti-Japanese armed struggle of the Korean people, led by great leader President Kim Il-sung. The DPRK was never a member of the Council for Mutual Economic Assistance, SEMA, or Comecon, as it was known in the West. The socialist system of the DPRK is a unique Korean-style socialist system centered on the popular masses." So next quote, "The DPRK's legal system is fundamentally different from the legal system in capitalist countries, which protects the interests of rich and privileged." Next quote, "Respected Supreme Leader Comrade Kim Jong-un, who was the great successor to the revolutionary cause of Juche, was elected on June 29, 2016. Next quote, "Inheriting the ideology and cause of President Kim Il-sung, Chairman Kim Jong-il strengthened and developed the DPRK and led the Korean Revolution to victory." So since we also have Comrade Dr. Hudson, who wrote the book which was quoted, do you want to add anything?
First of all, thank you very much, Jeremy, for your translation, your presentation, which I think was very good. And I think it was a very good initiative of KFA Germany to hold a study meeting on this book, because it's a very important subject. And I think in the book, Comrade Kimlong Ly refutes the myth of the isolation of the DPRK, which is a myth. And those of us who've been to the DPRK can tell you at different international events, Pyongyang is literally crowded with foreigners, and they were running out of space in the hotels. So, I mean, this is a propaganda cliche of the imperialists against the DPRK. I'm very glad that Comrade Kimlong Ly quoted from my book in defense of Juche Korea, which was finally written in 2017. In a subsequent book called Korea of Juche, I deal with the issue of the DPRK's foreign policy in several chapters, demonstrating that it is an independent foreign policy based on the principles of independence, peace and friendship, and it is independent of other countries, and I give examples of where the DPRK took a very independent stance on its foreign policy. And to give one example, in Cambodia, in the early 1970s, the government of Prince Norodom Sihanouk, which was a progressive anti-imperialist government, despite the fact that he was actually from the Kampuchean royal family, was overthrown by pro-US coup led by Lon Nol. The DPRK, some other socialist countries, completely severed relations with the Lon Nol puppet regime. However, the Soviet Union, GDR, and some other countries still maintained relations with the Kampuchean puppet regime. Similarly, in 1975, the DPRK recognized the People's Republic of Angola and established close relations with the government of the Popular Liberation Movement for Angola. This was independent of China, who actually didn't immediately recognize the People's Republic of Angola and instead supported UNITA and FNLA in Angola. So, I mean, those are clear examples of where the DPRK has shown in true independence, and it is indeed the most independent country in the world today. It's not a member of the IMF, the World Bank, or the World Trade Organization, or the World Economic Forum, which seems to be hated by a lot of people. It is a completely independent country. And I would urge people to read my book, In Defense of Juche Korea, and the later book, Korea of Juche. Thank you very much, Comrade Jeremy.
You're welcome. So now let's continue with the presentation. So now we come to the diplomatic relations with DPRK with other countries. So the DPRK actually has relations with 158 countries, including Germany and the United Kingdom. Also, the DPRK recognizes the state of Palestine and the rights of the Palestinian people. Actually, the DPRK is even one of the strongest supporters of Palestine, and one of the few non-Arabic countries which does not recognize Israel. So, to the relations with African countries, the DPRK gave military and infrastructure aid to many African countries, for example, to Mozambique and Angola. The DPRK has also good relations with many Latin American countries. When Comrade Ernesto Che Guevara visited the DPRK, he called the DPRK a role model for Cuba. The DPRK also has very good relations with its neighbors and many Asian countries. For example, they have defense alliances with Russia and the People's Republic of China. The DPRK also had close relations with the former states of the Warsaw Treaty. But since, for example, the GDR and the other Eastern Socialist countries, but since they don't exist anymore, they now have relations in Europe with anti-imperialist states such as Belarus and Serbia. So the DPRK has not only relations with many foreign countries, but also is a member in 59 international organizations. They joined the United Nations in the year 1991 and use it as a platform to criticize Western imperialism. The DPRK is a member of, for example, in the World Health Organization, the WHO, the World Food Programme, and the Movement on Non-Aligned States and many other international organizations. There are also thousands of solidarity groups worldwide, such as, for example, Korea solidarity groups, such as the KFA ourselves, but also international associations that support the DPRK. There are also international Juche study groups and Sangun study groups, which Comrade Dr. Hudson, I think, also leads in the UK. There are also international movements in support of socialism who support the DPRK. And there are groups supporting the reunification of Korea. But that's very unlikely. So the thing is, South Korea is still occupied till this day by the American imperialists. We try everything that there won't be a reunification. And yes, the regime in South Korea is completely controlled by the US. In Germany, they're speaking, they can't even make a fart without them saying something or deciding it, the US. Yes, so also many of these groups, reunification groups, got dissolved in the last years for that reason. So also the KFA is probably the most important of the solidarity groups because of their excellent fight against the Western lies, against the DPRK, and because the KFA shows the world the truth about People's Korea in over 100 countries. So now we come to the partnerships with friendly nations. So the DPRK has a lot of partnerships with friendly nations. For example, Russia, which is the successor of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union actually was the first state to officially recognize the DPRK. And the Soviet Union supported the DPRK during the Federal Liberation War, which in the West was called Korean War. So during, when Gorbachev destroyed socialism in the Soviet Union, the relations became very cold between the DPRK and the Russian Federation. But with the election of Putin as president of Russia, they got revived. For example, Marshal Kim Jong-un visited the Russian Federation in the year 2015, and also again now last year, also Putin visited the DPRK multiple times. And today the DPRK and the Russian Federations are among the closest allies in the world, so there are not many countries that have that close of friendship. Also, Comrade Kimlong Ly points out that the DPRK is respected by the most countries of the world. DPRK diplomats are respected by other diplomats when they are on international forums, international meetings. They are always treated with respect. Only the US satellite states and US itself don't treat the DPRK with respect. For example, Cambodia or Venezuela, Cuba, Mexico, all these countries treat the DPRK normally. Now we come to tourism and cultural exchange. So despite the Western lies, foreigners can visit the DPRK. And also there are numerous cultural exchange programs. For example, Comrade Kimlong Ly visited one at the 2024 April Spring Art Festival, where he held a speech. But there are also many other people in Cambodia, where the author of that book lives, who visited DPRK, he tells. For example, people who participated in sport activities, for example, the Pyongyang Marathon, or people who were tourists there. And actually over 5,000 foreign people, foreign students have studied at the Kim Il-sung University. And despite the Western lies saying otherwise, DPRK citizens are allowed to travel abroad. It's actually a right which is set in the constitution of the DPRK. the right of free travel. Now we come to the Western censorship. But first to the internet. So like China, the DPRK has its own internet because nobody needs to visit immoral websites every day. You can access the international internet in the DPRK, for example, in universities, in libraries, in hotels. But the DPRK also has its own internet, own websites, without all these immoral propaganda. And yes. In the West, pro-DPRK content gets censored a lot. For example, well-known pro-DPRK YouTube channels got censored by YouTube, and also blogs. For example, the KFA UK YouTube channel got censored, including with the whole Google account. That's also the very big channel Prong DPRK Daily, who uploaded videos from a DPRK, which got censored. There were vloggers from a DPRK who only talked about, the normal life in a DPRK, and that got censored because it was against the Western narrative. Also, Facebook is very big with the deletion and censorship against pro-DPRK content. For example, the page of the KFA UK, which had over 10,000 followers, got deleted by Facebook. And also the X page, X was formerly known as Twitter, got deleted by Elon Musk. So, and since Dr. Hudson, who is the chairman of the KFK, is already here, maybe you can also tell us a bit about the censorship and the deletions of your content through Western social media, through Western internet monopolies.
Yes, thank you very much, Jeremy. I can tell you quite a lot about that. First of all, with Facebook, we started having problems with Facebook in 2020 and to some extent before 2020, but particularly after 2020, Facebook deleted some posts. They also said that the page was, I quote, North Korea state-controlled media, even though no one running the page was a DPRK citizen or employed by the DPRK. So they put that label on us. And as I say, increasingly, we found posts were being deleted by Facebook. In the end, in March 2023, the KFA UK Facebook page, which had 12,000 followers, was deleted by Facebook without warning or without any negotiation. It was just deleted. We protested to Facebook. We sent an email directly to Zuckerberg himself. We never got a reply. They just did not reply. So we are more focused on Telegram now. We set up another KFA UK Facebook page, but it is not does not have such a big following as the original one. I'd also point out with Facebook that a few years ago, a renegade, a traitor from KFA UK, who we believe had far-right views and worked for the intelligence services, set up a fake KFA UK Facebook page. We made many complaints to Facebook, and many of our members complained to Facebook about the page. Facebook would not remove it, even though it was a fake page being run without the authorization of KFA UK and being used to harass KFA UK members. Facebook did absolutely nothing about it. And as to other censorship, Google, we've had a few problems with Google. You know, I have my own channel, Songam 007, but additionally, we had a KFA UK channel that was starting to build up a following. It was deleted by YouTube all of a sudden, said that we'd broken the sanctions policies. Well, I don't know what sanctions policies they meant, or what sanctions we were supposed to be breaking, but they deleted it. We set up another YouTube channel, and the same thing happens. YouTube deleted the channel, but not only did they delete the channel, they deleted the whole Google account. So we lost an email address and also a lot of documents that I was working on. And I asked Google several times, could I at least have access to the documents? They never replied. Absolutely disgusting. And the third kind of censorship that we've encountered is I went to my local library in Catford and tried to access the KFA UK official website from a library computer. It was blocked. It was banned by the library. Again, I sent a letter complaining to the library. They never answered. And similarly, a new supporter of KFA UK in Wales, who doesn't have a computer at home. You've got to realise that some of our members are quite poor. They're unemployed people. He went to try and access the KFA UK website from his library. It was blocked. When I sent him some articles from my own Anglo People's Career blog, that was blocked as well. So it shows you that the authorities in Britain are trying to censor the voice of KFA UK. And thanks, Jeremy, for giving me the opportunity to explain these facts to your audience in Germany. Thank you.
Welcome. So now we will end the presentation with a quote from Kimlong Ly, the author of the book. So the quote is, "In fact, the DPRK is far from isolated and actively participates in global diplomacy and cooperation, despite Western attempts to paint it as such. The country has forged strong ties with many nations, especially with friendly nations, including Russia, China, and several countries in Africa and the Middle East. These relationships are based on mutual respect for sovereignty. The DPRK is also involved in many international organizations, including the United Nations. Therefore, the claim of isolation is not only untrue, but is also used strategically to dismiss the DPRK's success and justify ongoing political and economic hostility toward the country." So are there any further questions or remarks anybody wants to make? If not, then I would end the presentation for now and now go to the open discussion part of our meeting. So for everybody who watched via Odyssey or YouTube, thank you very much for watching.